A lot of people hear AI agents and start to think that this is the answer now. That they need to build an agent for everything: a sales agent, a research agent, a content agent, an assistant agent, an outreach agent, a support agent, a business agent. Sometimes that makes sense, a lot of times it does not. In this video, I want to make this simple. When do you need an automation? When do you need an AI agent? What actually matters when you're choosing between the two? Because if you pick the wrong setup, you usually end up with more complexity, less reliability, and more stuff to fix later. Here's the first thing I look at. If this job is predictable, or does the path change a lot, the question clears up. That question clears up a lot of things fast. If the job is predictable and the steps are clear, then automation is usually a better place to start. If the job changes based on context, messy information, expectations, or judgment, then an agent may help. That is the real split. Automation is great when you already know the flow. A lead comes in, tag it, send it here, notify this person, wait 1 day, send follow up, update their CRM, move it to the next stage. That is a workflow. The next steps are clear. The order is clear, the rules are clear. You want it done the same way each and every time. That is an automation. That's where automation shines. It is fast, repeatable, easier to trust when the process is defined. Now let's look at agents. An agent makes more sense when the system has to deal with changing context and make decisions along the way. Maybe it has to read some messy inputs, compare options, decide what matters, choose the next step, summarize something, research something, sort something, or handle a request that does not come in the same format every time. That is where flexible reasoning starts to matter more. The simple version is this: automation follows a flow, an agent handles more judgment. That does not mean agents are better, it just means that they serve a different kind of job. This is where people get tripped up. They see a task that could be automated with 5 clean steps and they try to build a giant AI agent around it. Now the system is harder to debug, harder to trust, harder to control, and harder to make consistent. That happens a lot. A job needed structure, it got intelligence instead. Sometimes the opposite happens. People try to force a rigid workflow onto a job that keeps changing. The inputs are messy, the request varies, the decision depends on context, the next step is not always the same. They wonder why the workflow feels brittle. It breaks because the task actually needed some reasoning. When I choose between automation and AI agents, I start with 4 questions first. Does this task happen the same way most of the time? If yes, then that points towards automation. Second, are the rules clear? If I can write the logic out step by step, usually that points to automation too. Third, does the task need interpretation? Does the system need to read something, understand it, compare it, or decide what to do from the next changing information? That usually points towards more of an AI agent. Fourth, how much control and reliability do I need? Because more predictable the result needs to be, the more the predictable result needs to be, the more I lean towards a structured automation. That is a big one. A lot of business tasks need to happen clearly every time. Lead routing, calendar reminders, status changes, invoice nudges, onboarding steps, CRM updates, internal alerts. Those jobs usually do better with structure first. Now let's make this more real. Let's say a new lead comes into a business, therefore their info comes through a form, it needs to hit the CRM, the owner needs a notification, the lead gets tagged, the follow-up email goes out, a booking link gets sent. That whole thing can be a clean automation. Same trigger, same steps, same results. Now take a different task. Let's say the business gets long, messy inquiry messaging and wants help understanding what each person needs, what kind of customer they are, what the next big step is. That may be a good place for an AI agent or at least some AI reasoning inside the workflow, because now the system has to read context and make a judgment. The same thing with research. If you want a system to gather information from multiple places, compare it, summarize it, suggest the next move, start sounding more like that whole entire thing that I just said sounds like more of like an AI agent, because the work is less fixed. Another good example is content planning. If the goal is just to make this title and put it in a sheet, that is automation. If the goal is to review these ideas, compare them to the audience pain points, and suggest the next best content angle, that starts moving into an agent territory. A lot of the times, the best answer is not one or the other. If it is both in the right places. A structured automation can handle the flow. AI can handle the messy reasoning inside one part of that flow. That is usually the smart setup, because now you have the reliability of an automation and the flexibility of AI where it actually helps. And I think that is where it really matters. You do not need the fanciest thing. You do not need the right level. You need the right level of intelligence for the job. That saves time. It makes the system easier to trust, and it keeps you from turning a simple problem into an overbuilt project. When people ask me AI agents versus automation, what actually matters, my answer is this. Look at the job. If the flow is known, build the workflow. If the tasks need interpretation, add reasoning. If you need both, combine them carefully and keep the systems as simple as the job allows. That is the move, because clean systems win for a long time. The more clearly you understand the job, the easier it is to decide what kind of system actually needs help.